Hey everybody, welcome to the program, WRSA Radio. I'm your host, G1. As always, I hope you're having a good week. Apologies for the recent lack of videos. I think I mentioned this on the last one, but I will reiterate it here for those who maybe didn't hear. A lot of storms in my area over the last few weeks. It's been knocking out my power, or my internet. And it's generally happening at the end of the week, Wednesday night, Thursday, that kind of thing. It's just kind of the cycle of weather that we have been having. I've been without internet completely for something like 3 of the past 5 weekends, going from like Thursday to Monday or Tuesday before I get it restored, and then be out again the next weekend. It's been kind of a nightmare to deal with, and hopefully when I change providers, I will not have to deal with that anymore. But that's going to be a little bit of a process. The new provider has to come out and put in their cable, and so that's going to take them a little bit to do that. But anyway, thanks again to everyone for hanging in there. Thanks again to everyone who's been hitting the merch store and picking up a shirt. Really appreciate it. Now, let's get the show on the road. This week I have a couple of items that I want to touch on. Number one being the death of Senator Lindsey Graham over the last weekend. That was kind of out of the blue, and honestly a surprise. I would have guessed it would have been Turtle McConnell finally going forever into his shell. But no, we get, and that's a whole nother topic to go down, is what's going on with McConnell. But we get Mrs. Lindsey passing away very suddenly. Rest in peace, Lindsey, as much as I gave him flack for, and as much as he deserves. I'm not going to stoop to the level of his level and kind of dance on the grave of someone at his caliber. I don't think he deserves that. Not because I like him or even really have a whole lot of respect for him, but it's kind of ghoulish. There are a few people that a few senators and Congress people and government officials that, yeah, I would toast the day that they are gone. He's not one of them. I just don't think that he deserves that level of respect or disrespect, I guess you would say. He's not a worthy receiver of that kind of attention anyway. But it was just out of the blue that he passes away over the weekend. Kind of like a lot of famous people who've died suddenly at normally healthy ages. Now, that's kind of what I want to focus on. There's a lot of rumor going around that perhaps the cause of his death was not natural at all, and since he was in Ukraine, that it has been speculated that perhaps he was blown to bits by a Russian missile or a drone attack on a Ukrainian facility or command bunker or something like that. In short, I'm not convinced that's what happened. I'm open to someone investigating and looking into that. If somebody can come up and make a really coherent argument and produce some evidence that says, no, he was here, we know he was here, and then this happened, and that's where we're at. I think that's what happened to him. Until somebody does that, I just don't see it. It's very circumstantial that he was in Kiev at the time of an attack, but that there's a whole lot of people who were there. Okay, and some of them have probably died in those attacks. But that doesn't, it doesn't mean that he was one of them. It's just, I think it was just more of a timing thing. I really do. And I don't really see any evidence to support it. It's just people speculating. So I'm not convinced. I'm not going to buy that. Maybe, but I think it's something far more medical, very likely due to that medication that was being so pushed so tyrannically a few years back. And I think you all know what I'm talking about without me coming out and saying it and risking the channel getting banned. Died suddenly seems to be just a habit of the modern age these days. The other thing that I want to highlight this week is a post over on the WRSA website, the mothership. And this is a shot of an ex-post from Matt Bracken highlighting the obvious at this point energy war that is taking place. And this is very much tracking with kind of my own thoughts and suspicions about what has been going on with Iran and Ukraine. This is the deep state war on Russia, and Iran is just another piece of that grand scheme. There's a behind-the-scenes aspect of this involving the petrodollar as well, and I don't have a firm grasp of the ins and outs of all that, but I have a gut feeling that there is a struggle to keep the world trading in the petrodollar, and they're willing to go about it by any means necessary. And the Israeli motivations are tied into that, but it's not just their territorial aspirations that they have in the region that is the full cause and driver of this. Those are just aligned with this overall course of action, not haphazardly or not just by happenstance. They align on purpose, but still, it's not the main goal there. This is about keeping nations tied into a system that generates massive debt. Bank of International Settlements, all this, the International Monetary Fund, all of these things are all kind of tied together. It's a big system of corruption. It's a big system of nation-level control, massive debt, and that massive debt produces economic power if you happen to be the one holding that debt. And I believe this is not as simple as say, well, China has a whole ton of American debt, so China must control America. No, not really. It's far deeper than that. There's far more to it than that. That's a rabbit hole to go down if you have the time to go watch Catherine Austin Fitts get into it. I find her fascinating when she kind of sticks to the basics of this system and the arguments about this or the discussions about this. I think she does kind of go a little off into the weeds when she kind of starts talking about, the control grid and, all of those aspects. And not to say that I don't believe the general direction of her thesis. I just think that she's kind of latched onto that phrase, that control grid phrase, as sort of like a catch-all to be, well, this explains all the things that I may not know about or I may not have full understanding of or the full picture of. It's the control grid and that they're building, that they're trying to put us all in. Not saying she's wrong. It's just I think there's something that's a little bit less substantial about that piece than when she sticks to talking about the system of finance, the hidden system of finance, all of those things that are going on. But anyway, she is a very good source. Go check her out if you haven't at this point. She did a really good interview with Tucker Carlson. She's been on Dark Journalist. She's been on a number of shows. She has her own website. Go check her out. On a lighter note, to close things out this week, and if you haven't noticed, I am shortening the lengths of the shows, just kind of tightening them up a little bit. I looked at the metrics on YouTube, and I know that the average viewer watches the show for about 7 minutes. So I figure if I can get the show around 10 minutes, I'll get more engagement that way. So anyway, I saw a post today that just struck me as another example of clown world and the absurdity that we live in current day. Washington State woman, which tells you all that you need to know about the psychology of the subject in question. Washington State woman arrested for vandalizing a statue. This statue is a monument to fishermen who died a number of years back in a fishing vessel, commercial fishing vessel, that went missing in a really big storm. They were commercial fishermen back in 1999. They died. They never made it home. So the town erected a big statue to honor them and all fishermen who are lost at sea. It's a statue of a fisherman who's throwing a line to the dock, a mooring line. So when the ship returns, the guys are out on the deck, they pick up the line, they throw it over, and somebody on the dock gets that and ties the ship up to the dock. So it's symbolic of men making it home safely as they tie that ship up at the dock. And it's called, fittingly enough, Safe Return. It's a monument to fishermen. But see, this ignorant woman walks into the park and she sees this statue, and the rope has a loop on the end of it. Because, when you throw it, it's got a loop, and somebody grabs it and puts the loop around a tie, an anchor place, on the dock to tie it up. So this ignorant woman says, oh, no, that's not a loop. That's a noose. She immediately concludes that it's a noose, and it's a statue to white supremacy. And she films herself watching some workers who are doing some kind of restoration work on the statue, and she kind of harasses them, and then she films her, and she explains all this in the video that she's made here. This is her post to TikTok. It's, oh, see, they're hiding it in plain sight, blah, blah, blah. And she kind of harasses these workers. And then she films herself hiding in her car in another video that she posts. And now, when I first saw this, I thought, there is no way this is real. This is some kind of elaborate troll that these people are working on. But she films this thing showing damages and paint thrown on this statue. And I don't know that she did the original damage. I think someone else may have done it, and she may have just contributed to it after these workmen left or something like that. But at any rate, she films this. There's paint on this statue, and then she's hiding in her car when the cops show up, and they are clearly not in on the joke. If it was a joke, it is not. They were having none of it. They're telling her to get out of the car, that she's being arrested. So the local police report says, according to the Bellingham Police Department activity log, officers responded to reports of a malicious mischief at the park around 3:30 a.m. on Sunday, July the 12th. So clearly this happened at night. She came back after this. The Port of Bellingham later shared photos on social media showing graffiti splattered on the Safe Return statue, also known as the Fisherman's Memorial. The port said its maintenance team had been working to restore the statue. They also confirmed that Bellingham police have made an arrest in the case. So she was charged with resisting arrest, assault in the third degree, and malicious mischief because of a fisherman statue with a noose. Insanity, folks. This is what it looks like. Now, that's all the time I have for this week. Like and subscribe. Come see us over on Gab. Nice Crew and the Mothership. Pick yourself up a shirt in the merch store, and I'll see you on the next episode.